This is the first murder that has taken place in the Bible. This is the first thing that has destroyed a family in the Bible. Some people believe that because of the text saying that Abel was born right after Cain, it doesn't say that she conceived or anything. It doesn't say that. A lot of theologians believe that these two were twins. There's no proof in that, but if you read the text, it seems to be that they are twins. The Bible is very intertwined with brothers. It's intertwined with an older brother and a younger brother, and you notice that there's a very symbolic meaning in the two brothers. It says Adam was God's son that was created, and Jesus was God's son through a birth. Those two kind of correlate hand in hand. They tie in together. Cain was a tiller of the ground, which God had already cursed. He was trying to make something fruitful that God had already told was not fruitful. He had already cursed the ground. Abel, a keeper of animals, was kind of highly looked at and respected in God's eyes because he kept something that was more precious to God. His livestock, a heartbeat, a living thing. When it came time for the sacrifice, I could see Cain just wanting to rub it in his brother's face. So he goes and gets everything that he can, all the good stuff that he's grown, the big pumpkins. I don't know if they grew pumpkins, but I just thought of that because we have some pretty big pumpkins. But he went and gathered all this stuff that he was like, oh man, I'm going to get him with this. I'm going to get him with that. But he forgot that God had already cursed this stuff. Why would you want to give God back something that he's already told I don't want? So then Abel comes around and takes his piddly little sheep, says, you know what, this is going to have to do. This little lamb is going to have to do. This is the first of my flock. So he goes to sacrifice it. And Cain, his offering was not good enough. God did not respect it. Abel comes around with this little bitty little sheep. What is that going to do? What is that? And as he begins to put it up there, he's doing what he's doing to sacrifice it, and God respects it. And Cain's like, you've got to be kidding me. I can never win one over my brother. I have a younger brother, and we're always in competition. Always. Excuse me. My brother, he's a character. He's special. If you knew my brother, you would know why I said that. We have fought over Xbox controllers because we wanted to be first place. We wanted to be the first player. We have fought over cards. We have fought over Hot Wheels. We have fought over Legos. And he still cannot build out of Legos what I can build. Just putting that out there. There's things that my brother and I would do to each other just because we wanted to win. We wanted to be one up. I didn't care about the rest of the people in the game. I just wanted to beat my brother. Because I had to live with him. And I wanted to rub it in his face. So when I won an award at school, oh man, that was something. I shoved it in his face. Be like, ooh, I got first place. What'd you get? Oh, that's right, you didn't place. My bad. It was so mean and cruel, but I did it to my brother. But you better believe that if somebody else would have done it to my brother, we would have had a problem. But it's that brotherly competition. can imagine Cain being like, oh, I'm going before God. My offering's going to be better. I'm going to shove it in his face. This is God. This is the person to impress. He goes before God, and God's like, no, Cain, that ain't going to cut it. And Abel brings less, but better. Because it's not always about the amount. It's about the quality. It's not about the quantity. So he brings this little lamb, and Cain's like, that ain't going to cut it. I had more. That ain't going to do. And God respects it. He's like, you got to be joking. You got to be joking. I could imagine the anger that was built up in Cain. I could imagine the frustration that he had at that moment. The person that he wanted to impress the most just shot him down and accepted his brother over him. I can imagine that, the heart that just sunk down in the stomach, like, I just disappointed my father. I just disappointed God. So he starts just trying to develop this plan, and it says that it didn't happen right away, but yet they were in the fields talking. And I'm sure that Abel, it's not in there, but I'm sure Abel was rubbing it in his face. I'm sure Abel finally had one up on his brother and had an opportunity to rub it in his face. I'm sure that Abel was just egging it on like brothers do, and Cain was getting frustrated and angry. So then Cain does something unthinkable and decides to shut him up, get rid of him. I don't know if it was supposed to go the way that it went. I don't know if it was exactly how Cain had envisioned it to happen. I think that Cain probably didn't want to hear it anymore. And he just started going after him. And after a few beatings after another, then the next thing he knows, he stops breathing. And it wasn't supposed to happen. It wasn't supposed to end like that. Cain had to feel something. And the reason why I say that is because he lied to God. He knew that he did something wrong. And he wanted to hide it. God comes walking through and he says, Cain, where's your brother? I don't know. Am I supposed to be watching after him? And out of the backfield, a cry comes so loud across the airwaves that nobody can deny it. And God says, what did you do? I hear his blood crying out to me. What have you done, Cain? And I'm sure at that moment, Cain's heart sunk because he just got found out. He was embarrassed of what just happened. It wasn't supposed to go that way, God. It wasn't supposed to happen. But yet there's something so loud about the blood that cried out. Abel's blood was crying for mercy. He said, God, I'm here. This is what happened. And then God just struck a curse on Cain that was so unbearable. Forensic science, they know how loud blood can be. They know how loud blood can speak and how intensely it can speak. Whenever there's an investigation over a murder, they always look for some kind of blood. They always look to find some kind of evidence to be able to solve a crime. They can take the blood and run it through some machines and it would tell them who it came from. They can look at how it's dropped on the floor and know how things happened. They can look at splatter patterns and it tell you exactly what took place. They can almost tell you exactly what kind of weapon caused what happened. Because blood speaks loudly. The blood is so clear you cannot deny what the blood can say. And then Paul comes and says, without the shedding of blood, there would be no remission of sins. What a powerful statement. Because Jesus knew the power of the blood. He knew how loud it could speak. He knew the things that could happen as long as he could go through with what was supposed to happen. They say in the garden he prayed so hard that he started to sweat blood. If somebody's just sweating, that just tell us that they're hot, maybe overextended themselves. But when you sweat blood, that tells us that there was a ferventness, there was a desire, there was something inside of a man that wanted something to change so bad. There was a hunger for something to change. People don't just sweat blood for nothing. It says that the capillaries had to bust. The veins had to literally come open. Could you imagine the effort you have to put forth to make sure your sweat glands won't bleed? He knew what was about to take place. He even said, Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Let it go around me. There was something he felt. And the Roman soldiers come and pick him up. It's so phenomenal, the story, because one of the soldiers goes and Peter takes his ear off. Couldn't imagine losing an ear. Jesus just reaches down and puts it back like nothing had happened. I don't know about you, but I get wounds when I bust open because I've cut myself or something. There ain't no way that I can rub over it like it's never been there. But God put this ear back and said, this has never happened. What happened to that Roman soldier's mind when his ear was bleeding for 1 minute and then the next it stopped and he reaches up and it's there again? What was going through his mind? Could he still possibly go through with what he was about to do, knowing this man just put an ear back on the side of my head? They take him. They take Jesus. You know, so many people didn't want to do what they had to do. They didn't want to crucify Jesus. But everybody in the crowd was screaming to crucify him. Get rid of him. We don't need him. Nobody wanted to take that responsibility. Nobody wanted his blood on their hands. Because that blood spoke. Oh, that blood was crying. They took him to a whipping post and they started whooping him. Lash after lash. The blood started coming out and it started crying. Because it says, by his stripes we are healed. By his stripes, the blood that came through on those stripes, we have healing powers. We have the possibility of being completely remitted of all of our problems physically because of the blood that he shed on a whipping post. My. The blood that spoke because of my health. Oh, the blood that cried out for me to have another opportunity and a perfect health and a body that could be healed. And they took him and they shoved a crown of thorns on his head. The blood running down his face. This is after he had been up all night praying. After he hadn't had a wink of sleep. Oh my. Oh my. What kind of man can go through this kind of torture? But the thing is, it didn't stop there. It kept going. So then they made him carry this cross. It had to be unbearable. He had already lost so much. He had already been through so much. He hadn't slept at all. And you want me to go how far? No wonder he fell. No wonder he needed someone else to help him. No wonder. They got him there and they pierced his hands with nails. They pierced his feet with nails so they could put him up on a cross and crucify Jesus Christ. But let me tell you something. The blood that was shed there was shed because it speaks for everyone in this room. It's crying for everyone in this place. Everyone in this city. That blood cries out for something to be changed. It was a price that had to be paid. And it was for all of us. What kind of man would do something like that? Let me tell you what kind of man would do that. Jesus Christ had every one of us in his mind when he hung there. And the blood dripped off. They say the blood was so powerful that, matter of fact, one of the soldiers got it on him and he fell to his knees. He knew that that blood was powerful. When the blood hit the ground and Jesus took his last breath, if you notice, the earthquakes happened. The earth split wide open because the blood was crying out. I have a pastor friend of mine that told me a story. Phenomenal. I said, you gotta be kidding me. It's like it was the most realist experience he had ever had. He was driving to a service one morning and there was a car accident. The only people there were a couple police officers. Nobody else had responded yet. The fire trucks were on their way. You could hear the sirens in the distance. This accident was bad. Half the car was missing. There was parts scattered out everywhere. Things were starting to take place here. He said, God told me to stop. He pulls over and he gets out at this accident. He starts evaluating what's going on, and the situation is so, it's just detrimental, heart-shaking. He said, Jason, I've never seen anything happen like this before. As the fire trucks start to arrive, there's a lady in one of the cars that was involved in the accident. And she's she's hanging on by a thread. By a thread. God led her to her, and he starts praying over her, accident. You could smell the airbags. You could smell, just the fumes in the air. You knew that something bad had happened here at this place. You knew something detrimental had taken place. He said the air was so thick. This girl, she can't even say anything for herself. He's holding her hand through the window of the car that's not even there. It's just, the car is just so mangled. He's holding her hand and he's praying for her, waiting for the fire truck to get there to help get her out. There's blood everywhere. He said he knew the moment that she let go. He knew the moment when she decided to go. Because he heard something out of that car. It was the cry of her blood saying, "Help me." Her blood was crying out for God to have mercy on her soul. I couldn't believe it when he told me this story. I was like, "You've got to be joking." He said it was so real. So real. You know what I said earlier? I truly believe that God's trying to mend some pieces in here. There's some situations that everybody has gone through in here that has been hard to get over. It's been hard to get around. But his blood is crying out for your situation. His blood is crying out for your circumstance. I have to ask you in this place, what would your blood cry back? If you were the woman in the car, what would your blood have to say back to God? Because God has done so much for you. He needs a response. He needs something from you. Paul said, without the shedding of blood, there could be no remission of sin. Some people say that it gets washed under the blood, and a lot of people don't understand what that means. What does that mean? Jesus told Nicodemus that you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven unless you have been born again, water and spirit. The Bible calls the rebirth in the spirit to be buried in water, to be baptized. The old you has to go down so he can build a new you and make you renewed. The blood cries out for those that are hurting, those that are lost. Oh God. He's already shed his blood on a cross to say that he loves you, to say that he admires you, to say that he acknowledges who you are and where you're at in this particular moment in time. When you go down in the water, it says there is no other name under heaven given amongst men by where we must be saved. Jesus told his apostles, you must be baptized in the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, and in the name of the Holy Ghost. Moses asked Jesus on a mountaintop, who do I say I go in the name of? And he says, tell them I am sent you. Because Jesus is the great I am. Jesus is the I am whatever you need. And his blood has cried out to be I am in your life. What is it that you're seeking from God this morning? What is it that you're seeking to have changed in your life? What is the circumstance that you need God to intervene in? Because he's already paid the price. His blood has already cried out for your situation. It's through him we have peace. We have liberty. We have salvation. I'm coming to a close. We just all stand to our feet. I have to ask, when you hear the cry, it might be late at night in your room when you're trying to seek God for an answer, but you hear the cry, what will your response be? Will you simply just turn away? Or will he hear you cry back? God gave us the opportunity to have free will. But our free will messes up so many things. Just ask Adam and Eve. Ask Cain how his free will treated him. If you're not listening, if you're not focused on what God is trying to do in your life, in your family, in your situations, in your church, in your city, you will go through life and miss what God's blood has already cried out for your life. It's so easy to trust things every day. I get up in the morning, I trust my coffee pot to come on. I trust my vehicle to start. I trust my phone to ring when someone calls. There's so many things that I put trust in every day. But somewhere along the way, I stopped putting all that trust in God. Somewhere along the way, it became easier to trust the things that I can feel, things I can touch. It became easier to trust those things. Jesus said, blessed are they that have not seen for their own eyes. Blessed are they that still have faith. There's troubles. There's circumstances. Oh, but Brother Jason, you don't understand where I'm at today. Oh, Brother Jason, you don't know what I've had to go through this week. Brother Jason, you don't know. It's been hard for me. I think I haven't had those days. Oh, man. But when I sit back and I think about where I came from, what God's done for me in my life, what his blood has cried out for me for, oh, man, I get taken back. I get taken back. I can't help sometimes I do have to take those moments and just step back from where I am because, like I said, it's easy to trust things. So easy. But your situation will not change unless you trust God and you remember that His blood has already spoke on your behalf. Every head bowed and eye closed in this place. This front is open for anybody. I know there's food waiting for us afterwards. There's a football game going to be on today. But let's not forget about what's important. That football game would not be happening if it wasn't for the God and His grace and mercy. Food would not be on the table if it wasn't for the voice that came out of the blood and cried,